Welcome to episode 409 of Salcedo Paranormal, and tonight I'm covering paranormal news. As always, you can find all episodes of the show, along with links to social media and other ways to contact me, in the podcast page, and that is salcedoparanormal.podbean.com. That's SALSIDO paranormal.podbean.com. Always happy to hear from you all, whether you have comments or questions or topic suggestions, or stories of paranormal experiences, whether they're your own or from others that you trust. Happy to either read those or have you join me on the show to talk about them. And thank you all for listening, whether you are here for the live Discord streams, or you listen on the podcast or YouTube feeds, or if you check on the Trouble Minds Radio Network, KUAP Digital Broadcasting, every night at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. That is where you can hear 2 episodes of the show right before Trouble Minds Radio comes on. And I always want to thank Michael Strange of Trouble Minds Radio, and also Liam Martin, Rohan of the Exiled Minds podcast. Both Michael and Rohan there for putting the show together and putting up on the station, including the music that you all hear when you listen over there. So, at the beginning and the end of every episode. If you'd like to support the show, there are some different ways to do that. You can always rate and review the show on your podcast platform of choice. Sharing the show is always appreciated as well. There are also, if you are into paranormal fiction and nonfiction books, I have written some of those that you can check out on Amazon. And then there are also direct donation links via PayPal and Venmo, and then Patreon as well, if you would like to support the show directly. And all those can be found in every episode description. And help is never expected, but always appreciated. There are always expenses in doing these shows, and especially when it comes to getting new research material sometimes, and just equipment, all these different things. So I believe that covers everything, and also excited to announce I will be starting a review of certain select stories from Stephen King's anthology Skeleton Crew, starting on this Wednesday night. That'll continue for a few weeks or so. I'm not sure how long yet. I'll be reviewing certain stories from that, and then as soon as we can arrange it, I will be having Derek, the Night Stalker, on to cover the Mist, the story of the Mist. Just because he works in a grocery store, and he is a Night Stalker, Stocker, and I think it'd be fun to have him on the show. To cover that story. So yeah, but to start with, we'll just be reviewing just individual, or just other stories from that book. That's what I'll be doing on Wednesdays for a little while. So, I think with that, I can get to the news stories here. And go from there. I'm still getting over whatever cold or bug I had going on, so I'm mostly better, but still have little things happen here and there along the way. So, which apparently right now is my nose bothering me. So anyway, one moment, please. I will take care of this, and then I'll be right there with the news. Okay, so the first story here I have is actually the last story I was going to cover on the last news show, which was 2 weeks ago now, because of, again, not feeling well for a little while there. And I mentioned it, but I didn't really get to cover it. So this is from WBOY.com, and the title of this reads, as soon as I can get to it again, scroll all the way down, says, visit this abandoned West Virginia munitions plant to experience history and possibly the paranormal. And this is about a munitions plant in Point Pleasant, West Virginia. Now, some of you that are familiar with paranormal encounters and lore and all those things may recognize this, of course, as the location for the original, as far as I've heard anyway, in the area, original Mothman sightings. I think I've heard other places that they took place. Some took place before that, but I can't remember those details now. But originally, this was, again, a place where TNT was produced. And this was this is for World War II. So this was the West Virginia Ordnance Works, opened in the middle of that war, in the middle of World War II. And this was located in just north of Point Pleasant. So mentions that there were around 3,500 people employed at the location at the time. And they produced over 500,000 pounds of TNT every day. Wow. Just read that. Excuse me. So, but of course, after some years there, the war ended, and it left this property to close. And but there was still a lot of there were still munitions in there for many years until actually, I'm not sure if there are still any there now, but there was at one point in 2010. And some of those actually exploded in mid 2000s. I think I thought I saw 2010. But anyway, this is also the site, and of course there's reports of okay, so one of the bunkers did explode after 20,000 pounds of unstable material were found there on the site. So you have to think, when you're making all this weaponry, you're working with all kinds of chemicals, and that's part of what some people say is behind the sightings there of this creature. And anyway, so it's just a brief mention of that location and the connection to this basically really fairly well known figure in cryptozoology and the paranormal as well. And this is the Mothman, which is the mythical winged creature, it says here, that is rumored to have lived there. So, let's see here. Mentions that, yeah, so in there's a pop up here. Let me see. There we go. So in 1983, this is the part that I missed that I was just talking about in a way. The location was listed as a Superfund site, it says here. But basically the point is, it was known that there were massive amounts of contamination from the old munitions plant in the area. And that's part of where the legend of Mothman arises, which is that either it somehow created it or summoned it. Either way, that's part of, from what I've heard, of the legend there. So anyway, just a neat article about that part of the world and that part of history, and both in terms of mainstream history and then the paranormal. So, and let me see here. So now I get on to the articles that I found just today, actually. These next couple here, I found several different outlets covering these next two articles here. And this one that I found that I'm using here is from news.yahoo.com. And it says, work with professional ghost hunters in the Cragen house. And this is the location in Indiana, I believe, in Boone County. Apparently, there have been many investigations there, but they weren't open to the public. And so this is according to a representative of the Boone County Historical Society, first name of Jane, says they've recorded unexplained events in the 1983 Cragen House before, such as footsteps, things moving around, people being touched, and a girl that was the living girl, the guest. I'm wondering, must have been someone that was associated with the historical society or maybe the investigators, but a girl talking with a ghost girl, according to the group's website. So this main group that is running this is known as Unseen Press, which I actually like the name. It's a group of ghost hunters that organize and lead fundraising events at historic properties, and this is in order to raise money for these sites, which is something I do like overall. Assuming that the group is respectful when they're doing their investigations. But just putting that aside, as I just like the idea of paranormal investigations being used to sort of keep all these historic sites up in the best possible condition as well. Mentions that, and this is about an upcoming event in, I believe, June. And but yeah, just the idea of these events, I really like them. I've been to a couple here in Michigan over the years, and they're really interesting, if only for the history, learning the history of the sites, and then also being able to investigate a bit as well was just an extra on top of that, because really you can never go to these places and just be sure that you're going to get activity when you're there. It just doesn't automatically work that way. So, but we did have some things here and there. I've covered those before in previous shows. Wrong button. Okay. And sorry about technical difficulties tonight. And there were a lot of these. Like I said, these events were a lot of fun, and they raised money for the locations. And so I like that a lot about those kinds of events. And again, this one is. Let's go back to the article here. So the now one thing that this group has mentioned here, this Invisible Press, I believe it was. Let me check on that. Unseen Press, I'm sorry. They've, in their investigations there, they've actually uncovered information, according to this article here, that the Historical Society was not aware of. So, apparently, there was evidence caught of a little girl, as apparition or spirit, that was said to be running up and down the hall, trying to get cold cloths for her sister. And apparently this was evidence of these two, of course, back in the day, these two twin girls that had passed away, and one of them had actually done this, apparently, tried to take care of the other for a while. So, and the apparition kept on talking about a dog, and Jaden says that as far as the Historical Society knew, the family never had a dog, the original family that was there. But what they found out, there was, let me see here. Oh, this is actually separate from the girls. But, so there was I think it's separate anyway. apparently there was a dog and a man detected down in the basement, and there was never a man living in the basement. But then later on, there was it turns out there was a handyman that did stay there. Technically not living there, but stayed there at times. And along with his dog. So, and he would, they would stay there from time to time while he was working on jobs. So, just neat little things like that. I always find that amazing. And let's see here. Even though the investigation that this article is talking about is going to take place at night due to the equipment that the group uses, there are reports from people during the day that have had experiences such as, let me see here, being touched again, but also not seeing anyone around. So apparently, and this is always something I wonder about this, if it's just whoever is there trying to get attention in the daytime as well. Hard to know, but sounds like a neat event. They have the details on it here in this article. And of course, I always include all the articles that I cover on the show in the episode description, and they're also in the show notes and sources Discord channel as well. So, so neat one there. So let me see here. Moving on to the next one. This one I found all over the place. And so the one that I just happened to fall on here was from WMCT.com. And the title reads, let me see here. Once I find it, there we go. It says, want to camp at the Conjuring House? Be sure to pack your courage. Now, this is not actually about staying in the house. And of course, this is in Rhode Island. But this is actual camping on the land that used to be the farm. Or basically the farmland outside of the house. And apparently there's activity there. The article doesn't really say a ton about that. In terms of what activity there has been. And I didn't really get to, that's a whole case in and of itself to look into. I know I've heard little things here and there that there have been a few events that I'm aware of, just barely. But this is, to me, it's odd. Unless there's a ton of activity always being reported around the house, then it seems odd that there would be this event, unless it was mainly just for people to have a chance to get close to the house, which I don't doubt that there can be activity outside of buildings just as well as there can be inside, and even connected between the two. But apparently this is according to sorry, I lost track of where I was at here. This is being run by the owners of the house, and apparently there are several different let me see here, 8 different sites, and apparently they're rated in terms of how frightening they're supposed to be. So I don't know how that is determined. Also, I've seen this in a couple of sites. I'm not sure if it's the owners of this property or other people that have done this, but making up words, sometimes I wonder about that. I don't care for that all the time. And there's this new word that has been made for these kinds of events, and it's, I guess you would say, gamping, GHAMPING, or ghost camping. I don't care for that, but I'm also trying to be fair and not biased towards events like this. It just seems like unless there's all kinds of reports about activity in the out in those areas, which I haven't heard a ton about that. That doesn't mean they're not there. Then it just seems like a more of a money making entertainment sort of thing to do. Haunted attraction kind of, whether there's anything else that's set up there or not, which again, I'm not talking about this site in particular. I'm just saying in the idea in general is just, this whole thing is odd to me. But I just wanted to share that because it's been all over my news alerts. And so figured might as well cover it and go from there. So if you're interested in spending about $300 according to the article here, apparently you can camp out. That's per night. So moving on. Again, I'm trying to be fair and trying to cover these things. So and let me see here. I'm looking at the articles I have left, and I have a few here. I think I will skip to this one because we don't have a ton of time. This is from a website I've actually shared stories from before, KLAW.com, and the title reads, "The Haunting of Oklahoma's Grisso Mansion." That's basically the title of the article here. And this is a place in, it was constructed in 1928 by William Edward Doc Grisso. And let's see here. This is a location that, let's see here. So Grisso came from Arkansas to Oklahoma. And I'm not seeing exactly where this was located. But anyway, I'll find it. Just another fairly well-known, apparently, haunted location here in Oklahoma. Yeah, I think I should have saved this one. But just goes to show, if you look into it, any area can have any number of. Okay, this is in Seminole, Oklahoma. So that goes into the history of this Grisso character, who was apparently not super well loved in the area for various reasons, but there have been apparitions of a woman and a boy located in the site over the years. So sorry for the quick run through of that. But this is apparently the sightings have been reported by many people, and even the woman is thought to be possibly one of Grisso's wives. Apparently, had two, and then the boy apparition. Apparently, there was remains of a boy from many years ago found on site as well. So I believe that covers everything I have time for in this episode, and thank you all for listening. Again, I always suggest everyone check out all of my guests that have been on the show before, and all those links can be found in all the episode descriptions for the shows where they were on. Again, special thanks to Michael Strange of 12 Minds Radio and Liam Martin of the Exile Minds podcast for putting the show together and up on the station, and everyone who's helped the show so far. So thank you all for listening. I will be back tomorrow to share true paranormal stories from the web on the next episode of Salcedo Paranormal. Take care.